Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. In this video, we're going to be going over importing a wireless policy into multiple domain computers automatically and recording those imports so that we know that the policy is taken. Now, there's many reasons why you might want to do this. For one, you might have dozens or if not hundreds of computers that need a wireless policy and you just don't want to do them one by one. Now, you could give out the password to the employees, but there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to do that either. For one, maybe you don't want the current employees to have that password. Maybe you don't want former employees to have that password. Maybe you don't want the friends of the employees to have the password. And sometimes there are nearby businesses that if they get that password, they can piggyback off of your internet. And as a system administrator, it's your job to keep the network safe. So you don't want people bringing in their phones from home or their laptops from home and connecting to the company secured Wi-Fi, potentially introducing some viruses to your network. By doing this method that I'm about to show you, you can deploy this wireless policy to all domain computers, and that way nobody has to have the password. And if you're like me, you like to have a separate guest network for personal computers and private phones so that those devices can still access the internet, but they're completely isolated from your domain. So let's go ahead and get started now. The first thing you want to do is log into your wireless, and you want to create a company wireless that you are not using currently. And the reason why you want to use a new SSID or a new network is because you don't want anyone to actually have this network yet when you first build this policy. And the reason for that is because as this policy gets deployed, you're actually going to create a log file for all the computers that it's put on. And so a junior admin or you can go back, you can look at all the log files, and you can see where this policy has been applied. And you know whether it got applied successfully, or the log file can let you know that it wasn't deployed successfully. So you want to start over with a new company wireless. For wireless security, I like to use a password that's long and random. And the reason I use a complex password like this is because it's something you can't really memorize, and it's going to be hard to share it in case somebody does actually have access to this. It's not going to be really widely used and spread around. I'm going to go ahead and copy this password that we're using because the next step is we have to get one laptop manually connected. So let's do that now. We're going to paste in that password that we just copied. There it is. And we're going to hit yes to allow it to trust the network. Okay, once your company wireless is connected, we can move on to the next step. The next thing we're going to do is we have to open up command prompt as administrator. So go ahead and do that now. I'm going to push Windows R and I'm going to type in CMD. My command prompt came up as administrator. You can see up top. If yours doesn't come up as administrator, right click command prompt and choose run as administrator. And I'm going to share with you all the commands that I'm typing down below in the description so you can copy the syntax exactly correct. We're going to be typing this command. And what this will be is anything that you've connected to. So you can see that we don't have any group policy profiles. If you were using Active Directory to push group policy profiles, then they would show up right here. I have another video on how to do that. All we have is user profiles, which means that I manually added this myself. There it is right there. The name of it is Company Wireless. Once you see the profile name right here in the list, it's time to export it. Now we want to export it somewhere that we know where we can find it. You might be in the System32 folder. If you are, you're going to want to type this command right here. So that's where we want to put this profile so we can get it easily. It's time to use the command to export the profile. So you're just going to want to paste this in. And you can see that in the quotes is where I'm going to place this name right here. So if yours is different than mine, you're going to want to change it and add it between the quotes. The rest you can leave, then push enter. Alright, and you should get a message saying that it was successful. At this point, we're done with the command prompt, so you can close that. And right here, you see that we have an XML document that has our company wireless. I like to rename my XML document to wireless connect. If you have more than one profile you want to deploy at the same time, you're going to want to give them each their own unique name. But in my case, I've only got one company wireless that I'm pushing, so I'm just going to name this one Wireless Connect. And you're going to have to reference this name later when we build the script. Name this something either unique or something that you'll remember. Once you have your profile renamed, we can go ahead and start building our script. Now that our wireless profile has been created and exported, it's time to create the file structure that's going to house our settings and also hold our config files as they get deployed to the wireless clients. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm on my file server and into FS1 because I like to share my files and config files from a file server. So let's go ahead and get started on the structure. Open up File Explorer, and you should have a secondary partition for shares or data. In my case, it's my E drive, and I have a folder named Shares. And inside this is where I'm going to create my folder for the configuration. I'm going to name this Config, and then inside here, I'm going to create another folder called Wireless. And inside the wireless folder, I'm going to create two more folders. One is going to be deployment, one is going to be setup. The deployment is where the config files are going to go, so I know what computer has the wireless profile applied to it. And the wireless profile is actually going to be shared from this setup folder. So if you haven't already, go ahead and copy that XML document that we put on the desktop of our Windows 10 computer, paste it in here in the setup folder. I'm going to do that right now. Alright, now that my wireless config is in the setup folder, we can go back to the shares folder and we can share out this config folder. So right click, go to properties, sharing, advanced sharing. We're going to share this folder. And under the share name, we're actually going to put a $sign on the end of it. This means it's going to be a hidden share, so nobody can see it, even if they have permission to it. They're not going to know it's there. And for the share permissions, make sure everyone has full control. Hit OK, and then OK again. Then let's go to security. We'll go to advanced, we'll disable inheritance, we'll convert. And then I want you to remove users. So it has administrators, system, and let's even get rid of creator owner. So it should just be 2. Then we're going to add the ones that we need. So we're going to do domain users, and we're just going to give them modify permissions. And I'm going to go ahead and add my administrator account. And we'll give full control. Alright, so these are all the permissions that you need. Let's go ahead and check that box. Then close this. And close this. Alright, now that we're done on the workstation, we're done on the file server, now we have to jump over to the domain controller. We're going to create our script and then we're going to deploy it through policy. So let's go there now. So let's go ahead and get started building our script. If you right click on the desktop, go to new text document, and then we're going to go ahead and name this set wireless. You can name this whatever you want. So let's go to edit. And this is where you're going to paste the code that I have in the description below. Alright, now let's talk about exactly what's happening in the script so you can change yours to fit your environment. In the beginning here, I'm using the ifExist function. That's going to check to see if this folder exists. And if it does, then it's just going to go to the end of the script. And that's how I prevent the script from being applied every single time that you log in. So let's talk a little bit about my path. I use the fqdn. If you guys have been using the NetBIOS name, which would just be fs1, that's fine, just keep using that. But if you're setting this up from scratch, I recommend always using the fqdn name. If you notice, the folder name is only config. It's only the share name that I added the $sign at the end. So what that does, it makes this a hidden share. So people can't just search file server shares and actually see it. They have to know the path to actually get there. it's checking the deployment folder for the computer name folder. That's the reason that I use the computer name variable. It makes it so that no matter what user logs into the computer, it will apply the policy based on the computer, not who's logging in. The next line, if this folder does not exist, then it's going to perform this next line, and it's going to make a directory, and it's going to make a directory in the same directory and folder name that it just looked for. This is how I apply it once and only once, because once it gets applied, then it just skips the script. So you see that's going to create this folder. The next thing the script is going to do, it's going to take the wireless profile that we created and it's going to apply it to the computer. This is why we put the wireless config in the setup folder. The next part of the script is user equals all. That means that this wireless profile is going to be applied for all users that log into this computer. And the next part of the script, it's going to push the results to a log file so we can observe the results. So whether it fails or not, we're going to get a log file to tell us that it was applied, or the error code, or why it wasn't applied. And the last part of the script is it's going to make this profile an auto connect. So if the Ethernet gets unplugged, then the wireless will automatically be connected and the user won't be impacted at all by that. Once you have this in here and it's all correct, just go ahead and save it. All right, and it's just a text file right now, so we need to change this to a batch file. If you can't see the file extension, see how I can see txt? If you can't, then the easiest way to fix that is just to go to File Explorer, go to your desktop, and you can see it here. Mine has text, yours won't, because I went to View and I checked the file name extensions. So check that box, and then you'll be able to see the extension, so that when you right click, rename, you can take off the extension and you can put BAT for a batch file. A warning is going to come up, just hit yes, and now you've created a batch file. Now the next step is to put this batch file in a place that the domain controller can access it every time somebody logs in. You can put it on the file server if you want, that's fine, but what I like to do is actually put it in the sysvol folder for the domain controller. So just copy this, and you'll notice that I have a separate partition for my Active Directory. If you go in here, you see that the path is the same that it would be in the C drive. Mine is in my E drive. And just go to sysvol, domain, and then go to scripts. You want to paste it in here. Once that's done, now it's time to create the policy that's going to deploy this wireless profile. So let's open up Server Manager, go to Tools, and I'm going to show you my structure really fast before we actually get to the group policy. As you can see, I created an organizational unit, or OU, called company, and I created some sub-OUs for servers, users, and workstations. I only have one server, I have one user, and I have one workstation. So let's go ahead and get started on that GPO. Let's go to Tools, Group Policy Management. Let's expand our domain. And here's the OU that I have the users in. And there's my users OU. Because this is going to be a user login script, I have to apply it to my users OU. So let's right click, create GPO, and link it here. Let's name the GPO login scripts, and then let's right click and edit. So this is going to be user login script, so we'll go to Policy, Windows Settings, Scripts, go to Login, right click, Properties. Let's add that script that we just put in the sysvol folder. We're going to browse, and you may think, why is my login script not in the login folder? Well, it's because you're actually in a subfolder of this group policy object. So we're actually going to go up a few levels to the root of the domain, and then we're going to go into the scripts folder, and there it is. Now that the policy is set up, let's go ahead and jump back over on the Windows 10 computer and let's test this out. Alright, here we are back on the laptop. As you can see, I'm still logged in as administrator on the Windows 10 Lap 01. I want to show you guys where this config file is going to go once the policy is applied. So I'm going to the hidden share, and this deployment folder. See how it's empty right now? Once I log in as user 1, it's going to get the policy and it's going to apply the wireless profile. And then this folder is going to be created, and I'm going to show you what the log file says. So the first thing we have to do is we actually have to forget this network, because we're going to have the policy added back for us. So now if I push connect, it's going to ask for the password. Alright, so let's log off administrator. Let's log back in with user 1. Okay, now that I logged in with user 1, that folder should be created now in the share. Let's go ahead and look at it. So we go into the wireless folder in the hidden share. And there it is. It created a folder. This is the name of my laptop. And inside here I see this wireless log. If I open it up, you can see that this profile was successfully added to this laptop. If we come down here to the network connections, you see that it is set to connect automatically, but it's not connected yet. Well, the reason is because the Ethernet is still plugged in. Now, if I unplug this Ethernet, this laptop will automatically connect to the new company wireless. So I'm going to show you that right now. And there you go. As you can see, I'm connected to the company wireless right now. I didn't have to push connect, and I didn't have to enter the password. Thanks for watching this video. If it helped you, please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. If you have any issues or comments, go ahead and leave a comment below. Thanks. We'll see you next time.